All right, guys, moving right along here. We are on episode 11. On today's podcast, we are going to discuss the left trigger, or L2, in NHL 19, as well as what people actually want as far as gameplay, whether it be realistic or a more arcade feel for NHL 19 and onward. I'm No Sleeves 12. Let's get right into it. So, Stupid Me put out a video, basically the recap of Eki versus Ekin from the Washington Capitals winners bracket final, and named it the greatest game ever, question mark. Because if you were one of the 600 people watching that game with me, pretty much everyone agreed. If you have an understanding of how competitive NHL is played, what they were doing, and the counters and the creativity that they had was off the charts. But I think that I was so wrapped up in the hype of that game because I was doing the play-by-play for it and whatnot that I forgot that the competitive scene of NHL is a very, very, very small portion of the NHL fan base. It is almost, as I would say, less than 5%. I mean, like I said in another podcast, there's only 100 top 100 players. And I think that when it comes to gameplay, the creativity and things that they were doing in that game from a hockey standpoint were nowhere near what is actually done in a real game. For example, Ekin's L2, that is just not seen in the real NHL, obviously, because of how you can't keep your momentum or control the puck like that, holding L2 and half skating half the time, or just skating backwards into the zone in general, and that's something I'm going to talk about. But the crazy outcry from people about how this game is trash blows my mind, and I'm gonna read you some comments here. Okay, this is from Reddit. I actually got someone actually made a post, and the title for it was, "If you think NHL 19 is anything close to a real game, watch this." And it's my recap with commentary. One of the comments, this one's great. "To the people that try to justify the insane level of douchebaggery on display as pros gonna pro, bro, and bull like that, well, guess what? If the game continues to devolve into this level of nonsense, then hockey will never have a significant standing in esports, thus ain't no pros to pro bros." Clever. "No one is going to buy a ticket to watch this type of bullshit in a stadium, simple as that. If these guys think that they can win the one event that EA throws by mastering the dumbest shit in the game, so be it. Best of luck to them, but to the rest of you, realize that it's a detriment of the game and its future in esports overall." This could not be farther from, I very rarely interact with a negative comment because everyone has an opinion, right? I cannot express how incorrect that whole statement was. There are things about hockey that are different from every other sport. The speed, the inclusion of every single body part, essentially, your legs, hips, shoulders, arms, like where your head is, all in conjunction with the fact that you're not using your body, really, you're using a stick as well. The motion cap technology and the way that it's coded for a video game is so much more difficult than every single other sport. To get it 100% accurate is going to be a modern feat in technology. To get it 100%. Now, I'm not saying it can't improve, obviously, but just think about it from a comparison to soccer. Like, if we're considering how you would motion cap for hockey compared to soccer, it's a joke. There's so many more movements and things involved in hockey than it is soccer. Now, everyone that's insanely angry about the L2, I understand. Okay, you watch a game like that, you saw that all they did was back into the zone, and especially Ekin, who almost abused the L2 to the point where we've never seen, but used it to his complete advantage. It's a video game, guys. It is not a hockey simulator, and I don't think a hockey simulator is actually what you guys want. I said this on Reddit in a reply to the 20 posts about how this is trash and whatnot. If you want to go watch what a hockey simulator looks like, go watch competitive sixes right now in the current state, because that is some of the most boring stuff to watch, and it's not because the players aren't talented. Some of the most talented versus players are actually insanely good sixes players, and the creativity they have one-on-one and the seams that they see are next level. But if you watch it overall, they play it 100% trap. It's all low shots. It's all skating around looking for the one-timer. Very little L2 is used. It's not exciting to watch. Maybe play it is a bit different because at least it's competitive and it's, at its highest level, and you get to play your own player. It's a very different experience than versus and hut. But if you're going to sit there and complain about how you can L2 into the zone and spin and whatnot, that's the thing I enjoy with the video game, is that there's differences. There's the amount of creativity you can create with it in the game. Now, the level that it's being used at, I also agree, way too much, okay? But to hinder the people that use it to their advantage in the pro scene makes no sense to me. In competitive video games, okay, in esports, the reason why people do things like this is because, first, they need to win. And to win in a video game, it's much different than real life. Okay, you have to use every single coded advantage in the game to give you the best chance to win. So that stuff that Ekin guy was doing behind the net with the L2, where he double tapped L2 into a quick wrap, that's incredibly well thought out and used against the best player in the world. And he didn't have an answer for it until halfway through the game. It's just something to think about, guys. You can't hate the game because there's L2s and you can spin around and whatnot. That it's just creativity. If you want 100% realistic hockey, I think that you will find it is much more boring than you actually think. Hockey as itself is insanely entertaining, but people fail to understand that there's a large portion of the game that isn't very exciting, whether it be dump and chases, cycle for nothing, point shots from anywhere. A lot of the game is outside shooting off the rush. You take a shot, and maybe there's 7 to 10 edge of your seat, oh my goodness, this is going to be a goal, an amazing save, or a miss, something that really gets the crowd to be silent for a second and then explode. That's over 60 minutes. If you dumb that down to a 12-minute hockey game and it was insanely realistic, you're going to have 4 or 5 moments in total in the game. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm trying to give you a perspective here. And I just don't know if that's what everyone wants. It's debated. Because there are things that EA can do, and I think that they will. I showed one of the developers this game specifically because I was like, this is your game being played at the best level, and everything is being done to perfection, whether it be denying zone entry, breakouts, the offensive, what they're doing offensively. I thought that it was perfect, which is why it made it so exciting. But specifically the L2s, I got a response of the L2 seems a little powerful. And maybe that isn't what people want. And I can understand that. And like I said, I agree that it is a little overpowered. I don't know if there's going to be a nerf to it. There might be. I have no idea. There's no confirmation of that. He didn't discuss anything like that with me. All he was that's a lot of L2s. And it was. But to take away from the fact that it was one of the best, most exciting games, which is just odd to me. I don't know what people want as an exciting game. Do you want, and I think that you need to answer it for yourself. Do you want end-to-end rushes? Do you want constant breakaways? Do you want, 2-on-1s, end-to-end? What do you want? I that's the thing I struggle with, is I don't understand what is an exciting game. If I were to play in that game, in any sweaty game I play in, where a player I know is going to do, let's call it an exploit, or something that I know has a very high percentage chance to go in, I like the fact that I have to strategize to watch for that. And then there's and it's every possession has a chance for a goal when you play a very good player and you're an extremely good player. And that's the thing I find most exciting, not just constant breakaways and stuff, because that gets a little annoying if you're giving up breakaways, or if, you get 6 in a game, that's usually over, So I just think it's a matter of the fan base not really knowing realizing that a realistic hockey simulator game might not be the most exciting. And I understand that L2s in the current state are very, very strong, but it's in the game and people are mastering it, and it's not an exploit. It's you're spinning away from your opponent, you're using it to position yourself away from the puck, the guy attacking you. It's just, I find it insanely creative, and I like the state that it's in, to be honest with you. But like I said, let's talk what people what people want. Like I think that is something that is going to be debated. We're getting to a point in technology where the game can become a little bit more realistic, and I'm wondering if they nerf the L2 to the point where, maybe you lose control of the puck, or you get even slower if you do a switch and you have the puck while skating backwards, because that would be a little bit more realistic. I mean, you are taking away something that's creative. You have to remember, almost every single person loved the beta skating. Guys, the only thing that changed from the beta skating to now is the fact that L2 got nerfed. Like, you understand that. The state that it's in now is much better than it was technically if your argument is all you're going to do is L2. The beta was you live on the L2. You even got a little burst. It wasn't really a burst. It was more of a you keep it, and the transition out of it, depending on your agility was or your acceleration, made it seem a little bit faster. But there was a definite advantage to always using L2, and in the beta, I think you're going to see it even more. And that's why I think that them reverting back to the beta tuner is going to be even that much more beneficial, because now we're going to get legitimate feedback, because the connotation with L2s or the left trigger is already so bad. I can't wait for people to realize what it was like in the beta if you've already forgotten. Like, it was so overused. And the creativity with it. Imagine all they did was change the L2 back, like the skating back to beta. You're going to have no bumps, because there was bumps in beta, so the L2s and whatnot, you could just bump them off the puck. The pocheck was nerfed, so, I mean, you can still pocheck quite a bit now, as opposed to in the beta when you couldn't at all. And goalies were, they seemed much more powerful, meaning that they stopped a lot more in the beta and at launch, and now they seemed dialed back a little bit. And it's going to be curious. I'm so super curious to see how people react to that, because I think a lot of people that can't adjust, that's honestly what it is. To a lot of people who complain, I think you lack self-awareness. I think that you don't adjust to the game, and you don't have fun losing. No one does. I can tell you that throughout the middle of December till about the month of December, really, was the worst I've played NHL in couple seasons. The tuna just wasn't very good for me. I was trying to use the stuff that I'd been using as far as strategies and like the way I played the game, and it was just not working. I went on like the largest tilt I've ever had. I was about 500 or maybe a little bit less even, and I had to adjust. And I think that there's far too few people that adjust, and all they do is when they lose, they just blame that EA sucks and that the game's trash. And in some cases, sure, but in a lot of cases, it's just you don't adjust, and it's thumb skill. Like, simple as that. Like, that's super blunt, but for the people that are the best in the world, they adjust constantly, and that's why they're the best in the world. And I think that if you want to play the game, and the casual game is much different than the elite game. I think that's what people missed when I did my recap about the greatest game of NHL ever played. The stakes on the line, the drama in that game, the comeback, the adjustments, the creativity that we saw. Like, there is literally no one that was that good on the L2. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that, because like Nuge, for example, is super good at creating offense with his L2s, and there are other players, but there wasn't anyone who used L2 to that extent like that Ekins guy did. On the break-in, he would drag everyone over by holding L2 and then passing into the slot for a 2-on-1. Like, those were just the little things that were so amazing, and he was just using what's in the game. And I don't know if people either just angry that they can't do that. Like, I can't. Like, I tried. I think every competitive player that watched that game, I guarantee you, we're trying to do the Ekin rap after this weekend. And that maybe seemed like a glitch, but to get into that position and do that move, it's effective. But I think people will never have a good time losing, and there are a lot of people that lose quite a bit, and it's because you don't want to adjust, and you just say that, oh, this isn't real hockey. Well, yeah, it's not real hockey, man. It's a video game. And I don't know, like, it blows my mind, because this was one of the most exciting games I'd ever seen, and a lot of the people agreed with me, but also this is probably the most negative feedback I've had on a video ever. And I do understand that the L2 does seem a little overpowered, and it does seem a lot of unrealisticness when it comes to the skating backwards into the zone and things like that. And I have a feeling that'll be nerfed. I really do. I think that the devs will see that game and or just the gameplay in general and say, okay, the L2 is a little ridiculous. Let's dial that back a bit. But then there'll be something else. Like, I don't think you can get it 100%. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if people want that. I don't even know if I personally want that. I like the game in its current state outside of skating seeming a little slow, and puck pickups are always a problem. But again, that's an animation thing, and I think that's it's a little tough to figure out. But I don't mind the game at all. Even skating is fine. I do miss the beta skating. But yeah, I don't know. So guys, that was my those are my thoughts on the outcry of people with the L2 or the left trigger. Like, it was just mind-boggling. I thought I'd do an episode about it. And yeah, so let me know your comments. I guess, yeah. Let me know your comments in the comments section down below. Thank you guys again for listening and subscribing. My podcast is now available on iTunes, Spotify, everywhere. All you've got to do is subscribe. That way you know when my podcast goes live and you don't have to destroy your data. So have a good one, guys.